filmmaker and content creator Maggie McCarthy, also known as Fog City Midge, folks. Welcome to you both. Okay, Maggie, I'll go to you on this one. Now, you've been middle of the road and even critical on Trump on a number of items. This independent review, though, what do you think comes out of it? Do you think Trump has merit to this? Do you think it's the right thing? What do you think?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you both and Newsmax as well for having me on again. Frankly, I'm a little surprised considering I have been so outspoken about Donald Trump and the fact that I believe that he's compromised. And again, I'm not some Mitt Romney or John McCain Republican. I'm just a constitutional conservative with genuine concerns about Donald Trump and whether or not he should be the one to continue to lead the conservative movement. Now, when it comes to this Mar-a-Lago raid, frankly, I'm a little hesitant to really dive into it because it feels to me just like another one of these big shows surrounding Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know, this is another one of his major problems, things like, the impeachment, things like the audit, the election fraud, Russian fraud. It feels to me like another thing that we're going to be focused on for 3 to 6 months, and then they're just going to kind of walk away from this, and there's nothing really major is going to come out because of this.
Yeah.
And of course, it seems like yet another thing that is happening ahead of the midterms to just try to bolster support with Donald Trump's base. I'm a little confused by the entire thing because I don't, frankly, buy the whole thing.
He was always seen as an outsider, those headlines making noise even before he won the election as president. Maggie, you mentioned that you think President Trump is already compromised, but if confidential information does leak, how damaging do you think that would be to presidential security itself?
Look, I don't think that Donald Trump is an outsider. I think he's a billionaire. I think he's part of the elite. I think he's been tied in with this entire network of people for decades. And frankly, it's a little confusing to me because the only reason this story has kind of come up is because the National Archives requested these documents from Donald Trump for many, many months. It's only because he did not comply with that the FBI got involved, that they had to go in and seize these documents. So it's just a little confusing, like what is in these documents that Donald Trump feels like he doesn't have to do the same thing as every other president when he leaves office and hand these documents over to the National Archives. Honestly, the entire story confuses me, which is why I'm not entirely buying it. And again, it seems like this is just another publicity stunt for Donald Trump to, rally his base ahead of, perhaps a presidential launch. Let's be clear about this. I don't trust the government probably as much as anybody, but let me just be clear really quick. This FBI was weaponized in part because Donald Trump didn't clear house, right? He gave more funding and more power to the FBI. And in fact, he gave more power and funding to every single three-letter agency when he was in office. So if Donald Trump was really sincere, really serious about wanting to clear out the corruption and just clean house in the FBI, why didn't he defund them? Why didn't he, do the things that he could have done while he was president to ensure that he didn't leave us with an out-of-control rogue agency, which is now targeting regular Americans? It's targeting now the president of the United States. You've got people that were at January 6th that are now facing 80 years in prison who didn't even go inside the Capitol. 80 years. So this is an FBI that's clearly out of control, and that, frankly, I think Donald Trump has some culpability in, helping.
Yeah, no, you bring up a valid point. I mean, in the sense that, but look, Donald Trump did put Christopher Wray there. So, I mean, I think along the way, Donald Trump got a lot of bad advice, and he trusted the Republican establishment too much early on. I think he learned his lesson. We
can't keep making excuses for this guy, though. This is my entire point with Donald Trump. He's lost a lot of sympathy for regular Americans, and I don't think that he deserves to be the leader of the conservative movement going forward because of many of these things.
We disagree, but that's why we have you on, Maggie.
Well, I was saying next hour, we're probably going to have to discuss this a little bit more.
Yeah. Jenna, I don't mean to blow up our off-air conversation, but, you and I just talked about, we had Maggie on, and she made some points that I happen to disagree with. And one of the things, and we're going to let her respond in the next hour, but she looks at this through the prism, and some Americans do too, that the government wanted those documents back. Why didn't Trump give it to him?
Yeah, well, I had to text you because I saw Maggie and I just said, okay, this lady has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. She's a little confused about everything. Well, the American people aren't confused here. We're all seeing that the FBI and the Democrats and everyone on the left has been targeting President Trump for the last 6 years. This is just the next thing. I mean, come on. The President Trump set up himself to get raided by the FBI just as an appeal to his base. That's absurd. President Trump set up himself to get raided by the FBI just as an appeal to his base. That's absurd. That's absurd.
That's absurd.
You're suggesting Trump leaked this to the Washington Post?
Yes.
Why?
You got me. He's done stranger things.
Because he loves publicity?
Yeah.
So you're suggesting that he may want us talking about this right now because it generates a news cycle, perhaps?
Hello, Donald.
Maggie McCarthy. So, Maggie, Jenna Ellis had a chance to respond to what you said in the first panel in the first hour, that you were looking at this through the lens that the government is the arbiter and the all-seeing eye of being right on this one, and Donald Trump was wrong. Me and her see it the way as maybe Donald Trump was right and the government's wrong. Could that be possible?
I don't necessarily agree with that. No, I think what happened in the first segment is that I proved that this Mar-a-Lago raid is just another smoke and mirrors of Donald Trump being used to distract people from what's really going on. And the fact is that Donald Trump is not who he says he is. He's controlled opposition. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And frankly, he's a coward. Even worse, in my opinion. So I just want to tell your audience a quick story. August 5th, 2020, Donald Trump was in the White House for a press conference with Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, talking about how great mail-in ballots were.
In Arizona, we're going to do it right. It will be free and fair. It will be difficult, if not impossible, to cheat, and it will be easy to vote. 78% of the citizens already vote by mail in Arizona.
And at that exact time, just the day before, was the Arizona Republican primary, in which many candidates had a lot of shenanigans that were going on in their election. My husband, Daniel McCarthy, who ran for United States Senate, attempted at that time to alert the Trump administration and pawns like Jenna Ellis that his election had been rigged. And yet nothing was done after that before the general election to ensure that Americans' votes were protected and that Donald Trump could have a secure election. So this is part of the reason why I'm so mad. Now, to follow up with that, on November 30th, Rudy Giuliani came down to Arizona. I think Jenna Ellis was even there for another smoke and mirrors show, a public hearing in which specific instructions were given to Daniel McCarthy on how to get the state legislators to attempt to do the only legal constitutional way that they could actually decertify the election. This is per Article 2, Section 1. And Daniel McCarthy actually got that document signed. He was able to get the state legislators on board to actually do something about this. He offered it to the Trump administration. He spoke with them directly. And yet nobody came out to obtain that document, to actually do something. Instead, they raised $250 million from the American people for lawsuits, which were designed to go nowhere, more smoke and mirrors. These problems, just so that we could have a real election and so that we could secure things. So this is why I'm
Maggie,
so angry, because they stole our republic.
Let me stop you right there before we go down this. All right, so this is clearly a personal matter for you. It's
not just personal, though. This has to do with our republic. This is where I got so mad. This was long before I even met my husband.
Before we go down this rabbit hole, I want to stop there. I appreciate the opinion. However, No,
I'm sorry, Carl, but nothing else matters. We're talking about elections here.
So
if we don't have elections, we don't have a republic. And without elections, freedom is dead.
I'm kind of the old school guy, like, go vote on election day. And if you don't do that, maybe, unless you're serving overseas or have some real reason.
And having an honest election is important, because that right there builds credibility and trust with Americans, with voters who are going out there and want to make sure that their vote is counted.
Amanda, I wanted to respond to what you just said. We actually wrote a bill, the most comprehensive election integrity bill in the country, called the One Day, One Vote bill, which goes back to voting on paper. It's it gets rid of the mail-in ballot. And yet Donald Trump didn't do anything when he was actually asked to do something, right? When he came down here to Arizona, he started propping up fake candidates. He started endorsing people in an election which he thinks is rigged. And I'm sorry, but we offered him a $1 million debate challenge for charity. And yet Donald Trump didn't accept that. He's a coward. He won't.
All right, so
he has
look,
Jenna Ellis come defend him. He won't even defend himself.
Hold on, Maggie. This has become something that is clearly very personal to you, and like I understand that
It should be personal to every single
Well, but
American.
this
This guy has deceived everyone.
I just don't agree with you. So
Look, what happened? Why is he out there propping up Charles Klaus
this
Schwab?
is clear. This is a matter that where your guy was you feel that your guy was wronged by Trump somehow, and you're entitled to that opinion.
And so were the American people. It doesn't have to do with me. This has to do with the American people were robbed.
I think we need to have Maggie on for a debate.
Yeah.
Maggie, it sounds like you're definitely going to have to come back and debate this.
We absolutely should.
All right, guys. Good conversation either way, but we'll have you back. We appreciate it.